Wake up. Wake up. You've been sleeping on IDK. Wake up. It's time. Wake up. Have you been sleeping on the rapper IDK? I feel like I'm a fan, and I feel like I've been sleeping. I feel like I haven't been properly giving him his flowers, and it's time to wake up. If you say you love rap music and you love hip hop, it is time to wake up, because IDK, he is that guy. He is one of the most complete rappers out there. There's been a discussion lately, started by Read My Soul, fellow YouTuber, who talks about rap's middle class and how it's missing. Much like in America, you have the super wealthy and you have the poor. In rap music, you have the stars and you have the underground, but there needs to be the middle class, the people who are neither stars nor underground, but are making great art. That's what really made the 90s so special. Of course, you had Biggie and Tupac and whatever, Dr. Octagon. You had the underground and the mainstream, but then you also had, like Redman and Eric Sermon, Exhibit. Okay, like people who weren't quite superstars, but also weren't really in that underground bag. And that's where so much great music is being made. And it is happening right now. That does exist in rap. We just need to appreciate it more. And if the great rap beef of 2024 is good for anything, I hope that it is we are going to emotionally invest in what we love about rap. Spend less time saying how much you hate Drake and how much you love Kendrick, and spend more time finding the things that Kendrick does well that are done well by other people. We need to really appreciate the Jids, the Ab-Souls, the Schoolboy Qs, yes, the Joey Badasses, and definitely IDK, who is, again, I just keep on coming back to balance, because that's one of my favorite things that rappers can do. I mean, just his name itself is a form of balance. His name is the contradiction of rap, ignorantly delivering knowledge. And in case you don't know, the slogan of this channel, it reads it on my official merch mug, ignorance is profound. It is. It is profound to say when you don't know something. As a matter of fact, that's what Socrates said on his deathbed. The smartest person who ever lived, the most wise person who ever lived, said, "All that I know is that I know nothing. We must sacrifice a cock to Aeschylus." Okay, those were his last words. Forget that last bit. I don't really know what that means. But the part before it is really important. That it's important to know what you don't know. And he's a rapper who raps with honesty and depth. He's good at rapping. He's good at singing. He's really honest about his life and his art and his position in society and his position in rap and everything he's done. Everything I've heard is not good. Everything I've heard is great. And yet I'm reviewing a deluxe version of an album that I didn't even review. So who am I? Okay, I was so wrapped up cataloging all of Drake's horse hockey that I missed this amazing album, Bravado, Intimo, that came out last year. But fortunately, I can pick it up with this bonus, which has basically an entire extra EP. And the EP is just as good as the original, and the original is just amazing. I mean, the whole thing is based, once again, going back to this concept of balance. We need this more in rap. Rappers who are consciously balancing things. Bravado means showy confidence. Okay, this is in Italian. And intimo means intimacy. So the whole album, each song has a parenthesis, either B or I or B and I. It's either showy confidence or it's intimacy. And it gives you everything all in one album with a very good rapper. He's not the best rapper. I'm not going to give you one of these verses with all the different highlighted multisyllabic mosaic stuff. I would say his rapping skills are most similar to like Kanye on a very, 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 very good day. Okay, like early Kanye rapping, like the humor and the style, but not quite the absolute mastery. But he gives such honesty and such interesting views into his life that you feel like you know him. Maybe the best compliment I can give him is how he's the most TDE rapper not on TDE. This album reminds me of Ab-Soul, of Schoolboy Q, not only in the fact that those albums both showed the balance, but also this huge presence of basically an in-house producer of Tae Beast. And also, wake up, wake up. We've all been sleeping on Tae Beast. Now, maybe you're saying, no, I know Tae Beast, but do you really know Tae Beast? Is Tae Beast not the most slept-on producer out there? Is he not a Gorn? Is he not one of the greatest of right now? He did a lot of that Ab-Soul album last year, and it was really good. And that's not even mentioning he made a top 5 Kendrick song with Ronald Reagan era. Okay, that beat, that's by the guy who produces most of this album. Now listen, I reviewed his album a couple years ago, and I even saw him in concert. You'll see behind me a signed poster of IDK. He opened up for Pusha T, and I follow the Dev Lemons Law, which is the Lemons Law. The Dev Lemons Law. When you go to see a small show, you must support the opening act. Either buy their album, buy a t-shirt, do something, because they're usually not even paid and they can't really make a living. So I met IDK, nice guy, got the poster, it was all very cool, you know? And what does he say about himself? I do the kick and the hook. B-word, I'm versatile. Like, what's his style? And maybe that's why you're sleeping on him. Maybe that's why everyone's sleeping on him. Because it's hard to figure out what his style is because he does so much. He has an album where he does features with Gunna and Conway the Machine, and he works perfectly in both. Both songs, it's totally effortless. He does a feature with Denzel Curry, and I think he really might be on that level of Denzel Curry. Another good argument for the kind of middle-class rap that we're missing, although he's almost a star at this point. It's hard at times, and it's also really jazzy. Like, remember the 90s when sometimes there'd be like some jazz and stuff in the music and it would sound... It's like that quite often. It is so listenable. I've listened to it for like... I haven't done a proper album review in, 4 or 5 days. I just did a collaboration with Curtis King, and that was awesome. And I did a recorded interview with Lil Bill, and that was awesome. I've been really out there. And I actually have a big announcement coming up. Announcement you can't even believe how big it is, but I'm not going to spoil that now. So I've been listening to this album, just waiting to have time to do this review, and I have just been loving this album. And I did watch an interview with him. He was on The Breakfast Club. I have my issues with Charlamagne tha God, but he does do a good job, or they do a good job of highlighting these rappers in this middle class. And it's a good interview. Apparently his parents are from Sierra Leone and Ghana, so that's interesting. So he probably had more of an immigrant experience than many other rappers do. He was born in London, so 21. He went to jail and to college, which is an interesting thing, where he describes himself as being like, his parents were working, they worked hard and they provided a good life. He calls himself middle class, but then he also went to jail for some kind of robbery. And then he would tutor people in jail so they'd get their GED. Just his whole life story is just absolutely fascinating. And it comes pouring out in this music. So let's get to it. Let's get to review this. I'm not going to try to talk too much, because if this review is too long, then people won't watch it, and then they won't wake up to IDK. And I want everyone to wake up. This is your alarm clock, world. IDK is one of the best rappers out there. So let's start off with this first disc, this opening with the track ... It's just an intro, kind of a disco intro with these cool chopped up words, and then leads into the song Mario Coins B. B stands for Bravado, and it really is bravado. Starts with just his vocals, just his voice. When I drop my draws, B-words drop in jaws. Metaphor for telling P-word ends. I got big balls, no pause. I could put the paws on a broke boy, slap the F out his face, and take his Mario coins. I love this for many reasons. Because he's being crude, saying when I drop my draws, they drop their jaws. But he says it's a metaphor. He says it right up front. He's not actually being misogynist in this song. Other songs maybe, but not here. He's just talking about his power. It's his power trip. He's signifying. It's his power trip. And I like that he says, I got big balls, no pause. Because I hate the pause thing. I'm never going to pause, okay? I'm never going to say pause. If I say something that sounds homoerotic, good. I meant it. What are you going to do? Huh? What are you going to do? Right? So I'm not going to do it, okay? So if I'm ever talking, I'm like, he's really got a big one and he puts it on my cheek in my sleep. Pause. No, I'll just say that. What are we, children? Anyways, I like it. No pause. Thank you. No pause, anybody. I will say, though, slapping somebody and taking their Mario coins, I think he means Sonic coins, because Mario doesn't really lose. I guess you could say for Mario 64, he does lose coins, but they aren't really taken away. So what I think you mean is Sonic, because when Sonic gets hit, his coins get taken, but I don't know. And just this great Imperial-style beat comes in, this great opening line. He talks about what different kinds of white people to like, so that's kind of interesting. He talks about how he left his label, and he has to remember to do it for people like me, and does it for people like you. And if you like rap music, listen to IDK. Calls himself middle class and still in the streets. And then we get SU. B with Denzel Curry, and it's wild. It's like the whole song sounds like it could have been on King of the Mischievous South. It really does. This fast and slow writing of this great southern bass. Denzel Curry's verse is perfect. And I really enjoy IDK's verse. Mama and grandma look at my records confused, like, how is my boy so evil? Your boy is a man, understand, jump off the porch and not land, swimming in sin for bands. And SU stands for set up or switch up. And Denzel goes hard. And I think Denzel's just improvising. He keeps on talking about not having a pen. And he's just got this great loose style. I mean, you know Denzel Curry, right? Like that. This whole thing that we're living in right now, this is a golden era of rap music. And we don't need that next Kendrick album for that to be true. It'll be nice when that album comes, but we don't need it for it to be true. Because within the last calendar year, we have this, Denzel Curry, Schoolboy Q, Mock Hami, we're drowning, not even mentioning Doechii. And that Eminem album gets nominated for the Grammy. Ain't that a... Anyways. Still I, it calls itself Denim Demo. So this is like connecting to a different song on the main album with Joey Badass, but it's a different song. It's kind of a silky 90s style song, a solid but not amazing Joey verse. Maybe that's why this is the demo. I really like the personal aspect that IDK has here. It's getting easy, but it ain't the same. Feel like I'm insane, trying to keep it sane. On my way to you, I got the drive, but I still got to squeeze in another lane. I should not procrastinate, but still I. Talking about his difficulty. Then we get the song Miles Trumpet 2, a sequel to Miles Trumpet 1. A very, very jazzy feel here, very versatile. His voice, he's sort of Lauryn Hill-esque. And that's a weird thing to say about a dude, okay? It's a weird thing to say about a dude. But I think if he were a lady, he maybe would be getting a lot more praise because of his ability to just go between singing and rapping with such charisma and such ease. I really like the way this line, I've been on my anti-shit, so out of touch, counting all the dams I give way too much. He's honest. He gives too many dams. I give too many dams, okay? Maybe you don't give too many dams, but if you don't give too many dams, you probably don't have the drive to succeed and tear your hair out and be a nervous wreck all the time. Then we get to the song Rich Man Dreams. Rich Man Dreams, featuring Ab-Soul. Listen, I'm okay. We can talk about the Bentleys, trucks, and the Track Hawks, and the Prada watches, and the Philippe Patek, and we can talk about the Burberry trenches, and we can talk about all that stuff. But it's really a lot more interesting to talk about not having money than it is to talk about having money. Because having a lot of money and just spending it conspicuously is not inherently a story that is of interest. It's just a list of things. So this is a story about what it was like when he was poor or when they were poor, and it's very engaging. It's very relatable. And you don't really know me if you don't know that I had a 300Z with no heat or seatbelt on the seat with a broken gas tank that was always on E. Let's talk about it. That's the refrain of the song. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it because that's actually important. It's actually important. It's great. The rags to riches stuff of rap is great, but we need to also remember most of the people who make rap music came from very meager financial situations, and to never describe it other than just say, I came from the mud, I came from the mud, I came from the dirt, I came from the dirt, I came from the mud. Okay, the mud. No, you didn't. You didn't come from the mud or your dirt. You might have come from having a car with no heat and no seatbelt and a gas tank that's always on E. You know? And he's from what? Prince George County in Maryland? It gets cold there. Yeah. I mean, it's still south of the Mason-Dixon line, but it gets cold. I've been in Maryland when it gets cold. You don't want to be in Maryland with no heat and no seatbelt. And he then mentions, and he has a whole verse dedicated to Ab-Soul, saying, I used to pray I could spar with Ab-Soul. And then we have Ab-Soul's verse. And the thing is, these guys are just linked up, you know, because Ab-Soul is so good at communicating his truth, his insecurities, his strengths, right? the greatest strength you can have is admitting your vulnerability, right? If you want any like real advice, if you're a man and you're trying to be more manly, don't listen to anybody who talks to you about strength. Strength is weakness. It really is. If you try to project strength, you're just going to look insecure. Okay? You might end up president, but you'll always look like a weakling. You know what I'm saying? Like real strength comes from knowing your weaknesses, and no one can do that as well as Absol or IDK. And here they are together, and then he jumps on, and you really don't know me if you don't know I had a Chevy celebrity. First mention of a Chevy celebrity, very, very rare. This is like GNX, okay? This is, this is the This is the statistical opposite of a GNX. This is a true American shitbox. Chevy celebrity. I got from Mrs. Harris for 250. And I sometimes have sort of back and forth with Absol, which is very cool. And I mentioned how much I like this verse, and he said, yeah, and that was his math teacher. So he bought the car for $250 from his math teacher, which is cool because I bought one of my cars for $4,000 from my department chair. So and with inflation, that's pretty similar. I got it from Miss Harris for $250, barely passed the smog check, but still got from A to B. That's what you need to get from A to B. You can't live in California without a car. I tell the story all the time. When I lived in Los Angeles, I used to go for a lot of walks. One time I was walking, and somebody pulled up in a car and panhandled. I was walking, they were driving, and they were asking me for money. They were driving, and anyways, Los Angeles. You can't make it up. You see, before SoundCloud, I was on SoundClick, /Ab the Great. You can Google that shit. All facts. I had a Radio Shack desktop mic that I stole. No pop filter for it. Just a duct tape roll with the stocking cap around it. Recording on Acid Pro 4.0. Illegally downloaded some kind of BitTorrent. Yo. He throws the yo on just so that it rhymes. And I think this is a great counterpart, actually, to the Hard Part 6. The real one, not the fake one that Drake did, but the real one that Kendrick did, where you have like this whole song, and it's like all about the early days and about how hard it was, and like you feel the sort of the joy and the pain and the fear of all that energy of coming up. That's awesome. IDK even talks about almost quitting rap because he didn't know if he was going to make it. And he needs to make it. We need to keep supporting. We need to keep listening, going to concerts, buying damn merch, buying music when you can afford it. If you can afford to support artists, you've got to support these artists. You really got to. I think especially this middle class. Because, the underground's got it pretty well, because like there's like a kind of nerdy energy, and nerds spend a lot of money on stuff. I don't think the Griselda people need to worry about their, about making rent. But I do worry about some of these middle-class rappers who might not have that same underground fervor or the superstardom. I don't know. Then we get to Flow, which is basically a native tongue style 90s beat, all about the flow. The flow is the answer. Water the plants. I dance with the daisies, actually. Ants inside my pants got me antsy. Aunties hoping and praying the kids will understand me. Labels is praying and wishing and working for the Grammys. Granny praying and praying. I duck the double whammies. No whammies. It's like an old game show. No whammies. What was that game show called? Press Your Luck. That's what it was called. There was a little green guy. I used to watch that show all the time. I didn't know the rules. I didn't understand anything. But I was too young. But they would say, no whammies. And I would just watch it because sometimes they'd get a whammy and a little green guy would come out and take all their money. But just a great flow there. Okay. I think I still think he is better than early Kanye as a rapper, but I think that's the best comparable there. If rap wasn't my shit, I'd get a trade for construction, build a house, money made for lifting up bricks. I gotta get with the shits. Anyways, and it just keeps repeating till it gets obscured. But here we have a dedication to the flow of music, the flow of the art that he's making. And I'm going to go through the actual album a lot quicker because I want to keep this video relatively short so that more people will watch it. Opens up great with this Hello song. Despite what you may think, every word is about the author's past, present, and sometimes future. He's a rapper who's really talking about himself, Celine in the Trap, underground, and like this hook and rhyme, these great lyrics, very cool. And it's we in the house, so he's actually quoting Kanye, and we in the house, and he's just filled with wisdom. I love it when rappers have wisdom, because they got so many words, and so they can communicate wisdom. I gotta move like I'm broke when I'm really not. You see, that's good advice, kids. See, usually the problem is people do the opposite. They move like they're rich when they're really not. A great beat switch here. Then we get the song Tiffany. That's the track with Gunna, and it just works perfectly. Like, this is probably the most I've ever liked Gunna. Kickin', not my favorite song, but I do like, he says kickin' in the door and then can't touch this. So it's like Hammer meets Biggie. That's kind of funny, but the beat's maybe not as interesting as other ones. Then we get Denim once again with Joey Badass. I'm sitting on Cloud 9, but it's really my couch. Pierre Jeanneret, the original ones, not the ones they get for $500 to dress up their house. He's talking about authentic mid-century modern furniture, not the kind of knockoffs that you can get now. But hey, listen, you can actually, the knockoffs are pretty good. They're pretty good. I get it. I'm a collector, so I would get the real thing too if I could afford it. But the knockoffs, anyways, a great flex. That's like the second mid-century modern furniture flex in the last year. I think Fat Ray had one as well. And Joey has the great lyric, if they ain't laughing at your dreams, you ain't dreaming big enough. As you kids would like to say, bars. Miles' Trumpet 1, the ooh la 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 sound that was made famous by the Fugees, the stilted, almost Dilla times drums, I don't know how to love. He says he doesn't know how to love, he's too young. And then we get to Tae Beast's beat, the absolute beat. One of my favorite beats I've heard. Period. Okay? This is a Ronald Reagan era level Tae Beast. Tae Beast beat. Tae Beast beat. Okay? I think it is a staccato version of the Moonlight Sonata. You know, remember from that one level in Earthworm Jim 2? You know what I'm talking about. From, what's his face? Chopin, right? Chopin, right? I think it's Chopin. But then it gets mixed up with this ridiculous stutter step beat. I think it's the Impeach the President stutter step that Audio 2 used. Like one of the great sort of beat extensions where they took one of the most sampled songs of all rap history and then like cut it up and doubled it. And it's just great. And the verse is problematic because it's all about like, you know, blonde women being stupid. Which, you know, hey, blonde women aren't stupid. They're blonde. But, you know, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek. And it's a song, right? It's a Bravado song. And it's just Tae Beast. It turns out he released like a beat tape last month. And I think I'm just going to review that. And I'm not going to get any views for it. I don't care anymore. I don't care. It's talking about this with Curtis King. Whatever. You know, Drake is going to do something stupid and I'll get 100,000 views. And until then, I'm just going to keep talking about stuff that's awesome. I might do a review of a Chilean post-punk band next week because fuck it, that's why. It's my favorite line from the David Chappelle sketch about Kinko's. Why are you so mean? Because fuck it, that's why. Then we get to Paper Cuts, another beautiful song, kind of a cybery Neptune-style beat. So honest. I spent every dime that I had on this rollout. Let's talk about it. He's talking about how hard it is to be an artist. I'm a product of betting my wealth, F being patient, I'd rather help myself. I'll never blame it on you, even if it was your fault. Blame myself for who I choose. Blaming other people. Is it real? Like real life, people live in their real, living fake in their real life. All about honesty and truth and accountability. Man, I like this guy. I want to hang out with this guy. You know, this seems like a good guy to hang out with, right? Then we get to Switch, and he talks his whole time in prison. This is a killer line. Feds will shoot you because they're out of breath. Oh, never thought of it that way. But it's true. You know, a police officer's job is to catch you. And a lot of police officers, not all of them, but a lot of them don't have the healthiest lifestyle. You know, it's often a very sedentary life. A police officer's life is often very sedentary. A lot of desk work, a lot of waiting. You know, they're not doing as much, and I don't blame them. You know, I'm doing more administrative stuff. I'm more sedentary. I've put on a couple pounds in the last couple of years, but my job is not to run after people. So it's interesting, this idea that like the reason they shoot people is not even racism. It's that they're lazy and out of shape. Ouch. And he has this whole verse all about, you know, at 17, they gave it 15. The judge called it being lenient. They called him stupid, but to me it's kind of strange because to be a drug dealer, you got to be a genius. This is the complex nature of his early life where he basically had a couple paths. He could have been a college kid or he could have been a a criminal, and then he was like, how about actually I just be a really smart rapper? How about that? How about that? I got a felony, their nose is in the air, but they're still not smelling me. Just great. Conway Machine's good here. It's not his best verse. Supernova, I don't really like this song, but I'm happy it's here. Does that make sense? Like, this is like a real attempt at a pop song. It's really supernova, you know, like this might be on, I don't, are they still doing Insecure? Is that show still on the air? I could imagine this being, you know, like she gets a raise at her job or gets a promotion and then she's leaving and she's supernova. My wife loves that show. That's how she knows like different kinds of West Coast rap, is because of that show. Supernova. And I know that IDK isn't West Coast, but like Tae Beast is. So anyways. And then the album is closing with See You Again, a continuation of this great guitar line from the last song. His best singing on this album. These super compressed drums come in. And there's all these verses about his mom and his relationship between trauma. I lost my mom and my father and my favorite cousin back to back. They think I'm good because I'm still thugging, but he's really saying it's not true, and talking about how his daddy not being there gave him his armor, and about the way that trauma hurts his life and affects his interpersonal relationships. He's talking. What does he say? What does he say? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Okay? Now listen, I'm not going to sing Let's Talk About Sex, Baby, but that was an important song because that was a time where we needed to talk about sex, baby, and IDK is saying, let's talk about trauma, baby. Let's talk about growing up in poverty, baby. Let's talk about the difficulty of being a successful but not superstar rapper, baby. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Why are we not talking about it? Do we have to talk about the Burberry trench coats? L'Envin. I'm a French professor, and I get sick of all the French luxury brands. The album ends with Goodbye, which is, you know, for BI, Bravado, Intimo. More kind of sample spoken stuff, cool phaser sounds, almost like DJ Shadow drum work. And then it actually ends with a fully acoustic version of the Supernova song, which isn't my thing, but I'm happy that it's here because it's his versatility. So there's my review. I want it to be under 30 minutes. I want it to be under 30 minutes so that there's a chance of you watching it, but I couldn't have it be under 10 minutes because the man's work is just so good. He is one of the greatest rappers out there. So wake up. This is you. This is you right there. You see Bo right there? That's you about IDK before this video. You're all like, I'm cool. I don't need, and then this is me in the video. Hey, Bo. Hey, Bo. IDK is really good. Bo. IDK? Who's a good boy? IDK's a good rapper. I have to take him out anyways. I'm not being a jerk to my dog. Don't worry. I'm going to take him out to go tingle. All right. Until next time. There's the camera.